Sema weld wamefeskadus ahadu amlak. Amen. Besama weld wamefeskadus ahadu amlak. Amen. Besama weld wamefeskadus ahadu amlak. Amen. Good morning, blessed love, on this Sabbath day, Saturday. And I always wear the Nutella on the Saturday, just as a symbol, really, of the marking of the end of a week and the beginning of a new week. So, Joseph, we're in the story of Joseph, now Genesis chapter 42, and we've seen him rise up the ranks and being in charge of the grain store when there was a famine in Egypt. So now on with the reading, and looking forward to, little reasoning afterwards. Blessed love. And Jacob sees that there is grain in Egypt. And Jacob says to his sons, "Why do you look at each other?" And he also says, "Behold, I have heard that there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy for us from there, and we live and do not die." And the 10 brothers of Joseph go down to buy grain in Egypt. And Benjamin, Joseph's brother, Jacob has not sent with his brothers, for he had said, lest harm meet him. And the sons of Israel come to buy in the midst of those coming, for the famine has been in the land of Canaan. And Joseph is the ruler over the land, he who is selling to all the people of the land. And Joseph's brother comes and bows down themselves to him, face to the earth. And Joseph sees his brothers and discerns them, and makes himself strange to them, and speaks sharp things to them, and says to them, "From where have you come?" And they say, "From the land of Canaan, to buy food." And Joseph discerns his brothers, but they have not discerned him. And Joseph remembers the dreams which he dreamed of them, and says to them, "You are spies, you have come to see the nakedness of the land." And they say to him, "No, my lord, but your servants have come to buy food. We are all of us sons of one man. We are right men. Your servants have not been spies." And he says to them, "No, but you have come to see the nakedness of the land." And they say, "Your servants are 12 brothers. We are the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And behold, the young one is with our father today, and one is not." And Joseph says to them, "This is that which I've spoken to you, saying, you are spies. By this you are proved, as Pharaoh lives. If you go out from this, except by your young brother coming here, send one of you, and let him bring your brother, and you remain bound, and let your words be proved, whether truth be with you. And if not, as Pharaoh lives, surely you are spies." And he gathers them into confinement for 3 days. And Joseph says to them on the 3rd day, "Do this and live. I fear God. If you are right men, let one of your brothers be bound in the house of confinement, and you go carry in grain for the famine of your houses. And you bring your young brother to me, and your words are established, and you do not die." And they do so. And they say to one another, "Truly we are guilty concerning our brother, because we saw the distress of his soul in his making supplication to us, and we did not listen. Therefore this distress has come on us." And Reuben answers them, saying, "Did I not speak to you, saying, do not sin against the boy? And you did not listen, and his blood also, behold, it is required." And they have not known that Joseph understands, for the interpreter is between them. And he turns around from them and weeps, and turns back to them and speaks to them, and takes Simeon from them and binds him before their eyes. And Joseph commands, and they fill their vessels with grain, also to put back the money of each of them into his sack, and to give them a provision for the way. And one does to them so. And they lift up their grain on their donkeys and go from there. and one opens his sack to give provender to the donkey at a lodging place, and he sees his money. Behold, it is the mouth of his bag. And he says to his brothers, my money has been put back, and also behold in the bag. And their heart goes out, and they tremble to one another, saying, what is this God has done to us? And they come to their father Jacob to the land of Canaan, and they declare all the things meeting them, saying, the man, the Lord of the land, has spoken with the sharp things, and makes us as spies of the land. And we say to him, we are right men, we have not been spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of our father. One is with our father, and one is not. And the young one is today with our father in the land of Canaan. And the man, the Lord of the land, says to us, by this I know you are right men. Leave one of your brothers with me, and take for the famine of your houses and go. And bring your younger brother to me, and I know that you are not spies, but you are right men. I give your brother to you, and you trade with the land. And it comes to pass they are empty in their sacks, and behold, the bundle of each man's silver is in his sack. And they see their bundles of silver, they and their father, and are afraid. And their father Jacob says to them, you have bereaved me. Joseph is not, Simeon is not, Benjamin you take. All these things have been against me. And Reuben speaks to his father, saying, you put to death my 2 sons. If you do not bring him to me, give him into my hand, and I bring him back to you. And he says, my son does not go down with you, for his brother is dead, and by himself is left. When harm has met him in the way in which you go, then you have brought down my grey hairs in sorrow to Sheol. For these few words to give thanks. Blessed love. So yeah, story continues, and it is epic storytelling. I was speaking with someone yesterday about this, and yeah, they described it as epic storytelling. Is absolutely right. So if you remember, Joseph brothers sold him into slavery. They put him into a pit and sold him to the Egyptian executioner. And now, after all these years, Joseph's, I think, 30 now. After all these years, they've been reunited, but it's been reunited in a different way, because there's a famine in the land. Joseph is now the head person in the land, selling the grain in the time of famine, and Jacob has now sent the remainder of his sons to Egypt to get grain, because they're also suffering from the famine. And it's their brother that's in charge of the grain, and they don't recognize him, but Joseph recognizes them. And so he's harsh with them. He tests them to see if they're good of spirit, and he basically accuses them of being spies, and he throws them in prison. And then on the 3rd day, um, he sends 9 of them back, and he says, Simeon, you have to stay in prison. 9 of you go back to your dad, but bring your younger brother to me, and I'll see that you're not spies, to corroborate their story. And they take grain with them, but the money they give him for the grain, he gives back to them, because he doesn't want their money. And then, but when they see that, they start getting guilty. They start saying they're cursed. And the reason they're cursed is because of what they did to Joseph. So they start getting a lot of remorse. So when they go back to home to Jacob, they start to say everything that they saw, and Jacob's just grieving, because he thinks he's lost Joseph. He thinks Joseph's dead. And Benjamin, he doesn't want to die, so he doesn't want to send him back. But also Simeon is in prison back in Egypt. So, and it ends there with saying, Jacob saying, you have brought down my grey hairs in sorrow and Sheol. So he's depressed, he's sad, he's grieving for the sons he thinks he's lost, and grieving for the son that he thinks he's going to lose in the future. So it's one, again, God's not mentioned in this chapter, or not in terms of God speaking to people. but it is a story of remorse, a story of regret. It's also the story of, again, reconciliation in, to come. You can see that a family's been reunited, but it's still being negotiated. Quite rightly, Joseph's on his guard, and he's not just embracing them, he's testing them, and he's trying to figure out his next move. But one thing again about Joseph, he hasn't he hasn't taken revenge. If this was someone else in the Bible, there'd have been like, as soon as he saw his brothers, he slain them, took divine retribution, and got his revenge. Again, Joseph is painted as a very peaceful, calm, thoughtful, intellectual individual, and he's thinking what to do. So in a way, he's also buying time. He put them in prison for 3 days, and then he's now sent them back, but he's kept one back. He's buying for time, and he's not hot-headed. He's not hot-headed with revenge and vengeance and retribution. He's like, okay, well, I'm not going to just embrace them. I'm going to work it out, and he's using his imagination, his ingenuity all of the time, and he's buying himself time, but he's not hot-headed for revenge. So that's going to be the message I take from this, in a way, is guarded reconciliation, but is also measured responses and not being too quick for action, really. And I think time for reflection, time for thought. And I think we see this in Jacob time and time again. He's very thoughtful, methodical, and he plays the long game. He's not interested in instant gratification. He's interested in, okay, how might this play out tomorrow, the next day, the next year, in a decade to come? And he's thinking forward into the future, really. So very careful strategist, in a way. So I'll leave it there. God willing, have a blessed day, a blessed Sabbath. And yeah, may God be the glory and all that happens in every hour of this day. And God willing, see you tomorrow. Give thanks.